Welcome to Alpha Wolf Capital. I'm Tim, and I want to personally thank you for stopping by. This channel is designed to help small companies, both public and private, gain exposure with potential consumers, investors, even partners. Take, for example, today's guest, CEO Vin Singh from BullfrogAI. BullfrogAI is a technology-enabled drug discovery company using AI to aid in advancing the next generation of life-saving medicine. They are at the intersection of computational biology and artificial intelligence. They use combinations of state-of-the-art causal artificial intelligence and machine learning to identify new drug targets that drive disease. Bullfrog recently announced Bullfrog Data Networks, which extends the Bullfrog Leap platform to create purpose-built comprehensive data networks from multimodal data to identify hidden insights. But I'm going to let Vin tell you more about that in just a moment. This is not to be taken as investment advice. I am not a certified financial planner. This is for education and entertainment purposes only. I encourage everyone to do their own due diligence.
Bullfrog Data Networks, a purpose-built data network platform to incorporate multimodal healthcare data into a global network with the ability to find insights within clusters of relevant data. Data networks can be interrogated for answers to questions, including genomic associations with disease. Data within a network is assigned to a type of node, in this case, distinguishing between patients with or without cancer, genomic attributes, and specific disease indications. The multimodal data is fused into a global network containing nodes, representing each data point, and edges, representing the connections within the data. Clusters of data are identified within the global network, including those that are specific to the cancer indication of interest. Specific genomic attributes are identified by the platform for further investigation, including potentially as drug targets.
Hey everybody, Tim from Alpha Wolf Capital coming at you with a follow-up interview, a long overdue interview to Bullfrog AI. Ticker symbol is BFRG. I've got the CEO, Vin Singh here. Vin, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing great, Tim. Great to be with you again.
So, yeah, I'm just going to tell everybody. So we already did this once. We're doing it again because for some reason it didn't record the first time. So it's early in the morning, at least where I am right now. And but I wanted to get this out this weekend primarily because of the fact that I think the chart is setting up really beautifully, and I think I think there could be an opportunity here. This could be a very good entry point. So that's why we're doing it again. But Vin, you've had some. Well, let's do this. Give everybody a quick synopsis of what exactly Bullfrog AI does.
Okay. So Bullfrog AI is focused on using artificial intelligence to discover and develop drugs that actually work. That's our objective here. And we have incredible technology. Our technology, when it comes to AI, there's two pieces. There's technology and then there's data. Okay. So let me tell you a little bit about both sides of that equation. As far as the technology goes, we have proprietary AI. Okay. We are not like a lot of other companies that just use open source tools and then apply the AI to problems. We are actually innovators in the world of artificial intelligence. And we started off with technology coming from the Johns Hopkins University Applied Physics Lab, also called APL. It's based here in Maryland. That's a subsidiary of Johns Hopkins, $2 billion in revenue, top secret or sensitive government work, defense work. They have 6,000 engineers and scientists there, and they developed an AI platform. It won Innovation of the Year at APL. World-class institution. We have exclusive worldwide rights for drug development. So our core technology comes from one of the top institutions in the world as far as innovation goes. And we've continued to collaborate with them on the technology transfer side and keep innovating and improving our technology. And then we've added our own capabilities, which are also proprietary. So now we have this combination of technologies, including we've sprinkled in a little generative AI, which is what you hear about all every day in the news. But then we also have something called causal AI, and that might be a relatively new term to your listeners, but very quickly with AI, typically you're looking for relationships that exist in the data, and that's how you're able to make predictions, right? With causal AI, you can identify the magnitude and the direction of that relationship. So if you take that concept and apply it to biology, that enables you to identify the drivers of disease in complex biological systems. So that's our technology in a nutshell. The other half, which is incredibly exciting, is the data side of it. Over a year ago, we partnered with the Lieber Institute for Brain Development. Okay, this is an organization that's affiliated with Johns Hopkins Medicine. They have the largest collection of brains, post-mortem brains in the world, thousands of brains of neuropsychiatric patients. Why is that important? Well, in the world of neuropsychiatric drug development, that's the big challenge. You can't punch biopsy somebody's brain and study their tissue, right, while they're still alive. Like
Right.
in every other part of the body, you can do that. But that's a big disadvantage for anybody developing drugs, in that space. We had exclusive access to that data for a period of time. We've made a number of amazing discoveries, and these discoveries are drug targets that are the drivers of disease. We've identified these genes that are driving schizophrenia, bipolar, and major depressive disorder. And that's really important because when you think about drug development and failure, selecting the wrong target, that's the biggest problem. Companies
Right.
select the wrong target, and then they start spending lots of money trying to develop it, and then it fails somewhere along the line. If you select the right target first, everything improves, right? Speed,
Right.
efficiency, likelihood of success. And ultimately, why are we all doing this? It's to benefit patients, right? I mean, we all take medications of some sort. Nothing's more frustrating than taking a medication that doesn't work or that makes you feel worse, right? So you got to get that straightened out. And that's really what we're all about. So, that's who we are. That's the, core of the company. And so what we're doing is we have dozens of these targets we've identified. We're talking to pharma about doing deals. And this is well established in the marketplace. So everything I tell you is, based on deals that have already been done with AI companies and pharmaceutical companies. But for a single target, the total value is about 200 million. Okay, that's what pharma will pay. But the target has to be identified, validated. Then there's milestones that have to get hit along the way. A drug has to be identified or developed, designed, and so on and so forth. And it has to get through all the steps in the process and including clinical trials. But there's an upfront aspect to it, which is pretty substantial. It could be, $5 to $20 million per target. So these are big numbers we're talking about, but for us, it's exciting because we're a lean company, and this is all like right in front of us now. This isn't years away, Tim. This is like today, next quarter, right? The following quarter. So that's the most exciting thing that we're working on, and there's others as well. But let's we can talk more about that.
All right. So let's talk about real quickly here. The stock had a nice run recently up to it was I think it almost pegged five, right?
Right.
And that was off of a news announcement or a press release of a partnership with the late stage drug company, right?
Correct. Yeah, let me explain what that's all about. So we've had such success with our technology, and we thought, you know what? Biotech companies, a lot of them are having a tough time. Over a third are trading below cash. private companies, they're downsizing. I mean, there's a lot of challenges out there. And we thought, we'd love to help the whole industry, right? Help them be more successful because like I said, in the end, everybody's going to win if we do that. So we've taken our technology and a couple of months ago, we formally launched something called Bullfrog Data Networks. Everybody's familiar with the concept of networks. Think of Palantir, for example, right? They build data networks for companies across many industries. We're totally focused, though, on drug discovery and development. And what we're able to do using our technology, we can build these networks out of publicly available data, and there's some great public data sets out there in our space. We can work with a client's data. We can combine the two. And what it does, it enables the client to make discoveries, uncover insights, new IP that can help them advance their programs, be more successful, and hit that next funding milestone. Really, that's what we're trying to help them do. And we ran a beta site with this, and the feedback we got was this can help companies get to the clinic faster. I'm like, wow. I mean, that's great feedback. That's a tremendous value proposition. But the nice thing for biotechs, what we're offering, price points are generally in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. It can go a lot higher, for bigger companies, but they can't afford the multi-million-dollar partnerships, right? So this is a way for them to get an AI technical solution that can actually help them. So we launched that a couple of months ago. First customer was announced, as you just mentioned, a few weeks ago, Alazon Pharmaceuticals. Now, what's really exciting about this is, initially we were talking about target discovery, right, for Bullfrog networks, but we're getting a lot of interest on the clinical trial end because at that point, like everything's at stake, right?
Right.
It's going to be like make or break. Either we're going to get through this or we're probably going out of business kind of thing because so much money has been invested. Alazon is in the middle of a phase 3 for pancreatic cancer, and they have 2 other drugs that are ready for phase 3. I believe it's a bone cancer and a type of brain cancer. So they want our help analyzing the data that they've generated so far, looking at safety data, helping identify biomarkers. So it's really an opportunity to help them get to the finish line, be successful. And you and your listeners probably know pancreatic cancer, very difficult. One of the worst, right? One of the most challenging diseases to treat, likelihoods of success incredibly low, right? Trying to get through the clinic. So they want to be successful and they want to make sure the patients are going to benefit from this. So for us, it's a great vote of confidence, right? Because what it does is it demonstrates the versatility of our platform. You'll see companies that focus on a single, a certain stage of development or a certain disease. We're totally agnostic. Our technologies is versatile and powerful, and it's also scalable to an amazing, levels. We can work with, like a phase 2 trial size patient set, like 40, 50 patients, and make discoveries that matter. Or we can work with millions or billions of patients. So it's completely scalable, which is also, I think, a unique aspect of what we're able to do. So in a nutshell, you got this business, which is it's an annual subscription, and then the company or customer owns the network at the end of the 1 year. Okay. So there's this subscription type model, and then you sprinkle in these giant target discovery deals. And I just want to add, for the neuropsych project, we've made these discoveries. A lot of times a company's like a one-hit wonder, like, they can get like one deal done, and that's the end of the story. That's not it here, because we got 3 disorders, so we should be able to do at least 3 deals. Plus, we have enough targets in each disorder where we should be able to do multiple deals for each disorder. Because typically a pharma will want to do a 3 to 5 target deal, and we have more than that for each of these disorders. So this is an incredible point in the history of Bullfrog, and I think for you and it's a very unusual situation, because we're a lean company. We're only burning about 6 million a year, and this is what's on our doorstep. So we're incredibly excited, and we're trying to get the first deal. That's always the hardest, right? And we're having these conversations, and we're making progress, but we don't have anything signed yet. But
So you brought something up to me once before about, so you have the three, let's say the three main diseases, but then you had subsets also, right?
yeah, so when we've done our analysis, it appears as though there are what we call molecular subtypes of the diseases. So depression A, B, C, and D. So why is that important? Think about antidepressant medications in general. Like they don't work for everybody, right?
Right.
And that's because you're not really hitting the right target for that patient. Okay. So this is a true precision medicine approach. This is how you pinpoint the right drug for the right patient at the right dose, right? That's what you're looking for. And when you've identified subtypes like this, and you can identify the specific targets for those subtypes, that's a game changer. So that's another incredibly exciting aspect of this. But anyway, we think we're gonna make a big difference. And you know, mental health disorders, Tim, are a huge problem. I think I touched on this last time, but worldwide, 1 in 8 people has a mental health disorder. And that's what, a billion people? In the US, it's 1 in 5, probably because it's, diagnosed, better in the US. But what is 1 in 5? That's 20% of that's 70 million people, right? That's
Right.
a lot of people, and we probably all know somebody that, has those challenges. But, so it's the health aspect of it, but just think of the economics behind that too. I mean, that's a
Right.
big, big number. So anyway, I think, developing drugs that actually work for people is it just has a, trickle down effect. And I think it can do a lot of things to not only improve individuals, but society as a whole, right? And the country as a whole.
Right. A huge impact on humanity.
Yeah.
Massive impact on humanity. Quality of life for the people that are dealing with those issues, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
just helping farmer. I mean, you and I had this discussion before. I mean, I've heard numbers from, to get a drug to approval, anywhere from, 7 to 10 years, and anywhere from 2 to 7 billion.
It's a big
Right.
number in a long time. That's one thing we'll agree on. I think it's such a wide range because it depends. Is it a small molecule? Is it biologic? What is the disease? How big does the trial need to be? There's like all these different factors in there. But the bottom line is pharma has spent a lot of time and a lot of money. And, when you think about the steps in developing a drug, once you get into clinical trials, there's well, once you get into a phase 1, right, you got like a 10% chance, basically of getting there to the finish line. By the time you get to phase 3, the final phase, and, remember, you've invested all that time and money,
Yep.
you still only have pharma only has a 50% chance of being successful. And for oncology and CNS, it's like 25% chance of being successful. Yet they're still incredibly, successful businesses. But just
Right.
imagine if you can improve that success rate a little bit. Not only will, pharma win and we'll win, but patients are going to win because they're going to get more drugs that work for them. And here's another interesting stat. I think approximately half of the drugs that insurance companies reimburse for don't even work. Think about that. Think about the waste there, right? So that's why I'm saying when we're successful doing this, right, and we're in the middle of having that success, it has the ability to impact the entire healthcare infrastructure, which will ultimately lead to lower prices, right?
Yep.
For healthcare, for medications, and that's what the country wants. I mean, there's that's a lot of the controversy and the things that have
So
been going on.
let's hammer that point home right now, right? I mean,
Yeah,
if you look at the new administration, right? They've already said they're going to throw a boatload of money at AI.
yeah,
They also you got RFK who would like to have drugs that actually work for people, right?
yeah,
Who just wants people healthier in general. So
right.
I look at your company and I say, you are in a sweetheart spot.
We are right in the bullseye, which is great for us. And we're right here outside of Washington, D.C. So I think that's good too. But yeah, it's I think we're in a beautiful position. I agree with you, 100% alignment. And not only with the administration, but look at like the private sector and the tie-in with the administration, all the money that's getting pumped into AI. I mean, we're going to benefit from all of that. We're lean and mean company, and the other thing that I think is really important is we're an American AI company with American technology. Okay, APL is 100% American institution. We don't have our technology in offices all over the world, and God knows who's doing what with it. And I think our supporters and your audience need to know that. And,
Absolutely.
and that's the path that we're going to stay on here because it's a race. It's a race. It's a global race right now, and everybody's out there trying to win it. So I think it's important to protect what you got, right? So anyway, I think
So then you have proprietary technology that is your technology. You have intellectual property that
correct.
is specific to you and you're protected.
Correct. We have patents, some patents on the AI, a lot of trade secret, because in the world of AI, you want to be careful because if you file a patent, you have to disclose all the details.
Right.
How do you know who's using it? You'll never. So in certain situations, you just want to keep it trade secret. But yes, we do have IP, not only from the APL, the Johns Hopkins APL technology, but our own innovation on the causal AI. Um, and on the causal end, we can do some amazing things. It's people ask, well, how do you have confidence in what you're seeing? We can generate 6 million causal models in 30 minutes. So just imagine you have 6 million models, right? And you have this data that you brought into the model. So then you look for that common thread across all these models, and now you have a lot more confidence in what you're looking at, right? The results you're seeing. And then ultimately, in our space, the nice thing is it has to be validated in the lab anyway. So you make those discoveries, you got to bring it into the lab and prove it out, right?
Right.
We're doing that right now, actually, for one of the targets we've identified for schizophrenia. We're working with the CRO, and they're going to validate it in the lab. But anyway, so we're really excited about what we're working on right now.
All right. Then do me a favor. Share with the audience how many shares outstanding, fully diluted.
So we have a little over 9 million shares outstanding, fully diluted. These are the warrants. You're probably looking at, 13, 14 million shares. And these warrants price points are around $2, around $4, and around $8. And I also want to point out, these are clean warrants, which I know is a big concern for investors, right? There's no price resets, anti-dilution. They are crystal clean. We just, they're just going to get exercised and we move on. But so they're out there, but it also represents another funding mechanism for us. Because if you look at those three, that's about $20 million that can come into Bullfrog. I mean, that's
Okay.
significant, especially for a company that only burns about six, right? So anyway, I think it's a good situation for us, and but so that's the story. And then our float is only about 6 million shares. That's not fully diluted, but
Which is so to hammer home. So you've got the network thing that you can build out for your customers.
right,
You've now established that you're not just a drug target discovery, you're also involved in late phase clinical trials, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Okay, so these are three rather significant
Yeah.
segments, right?
Yeah. And I'll tell you the clinical trial aspect, like I said, everything's on the line for the company. So when you get a company that's like believes in what you're doing and says like I need your tool to help us get to the finish line. I mean, just step back and think about what that means. It's a big, big vote of confidence for us. Um, anyway, yeah, you nailed it though. That's the
So when just for example on this pancreatic thing, right? I don't know how long they're going to be doing this trial. I don't know what it is that their endpoints are that they're looking for, statistical significant
yeah.
difference. But is there a chance that for you, do you get enough data or
Yeah.
output that would confirm that what you're providing is helping them?
So I want to I don't know for sure, but I'll say this. I think their trial, and it's in the press release, is going to end in 2027, I believe. So it's a
Okay.
couple more years. What we're going to do is going to be finished in a few months. Okay. I think there's a possibility that what we come up with, right, we can sort of verify based on what they've already seen, right?
Yep.
That will be interesting to see. But so anyway, I think there is an opportunity to get some kind of report out demonstrating the value that we've added in the next couple of quarters.
Right.
I want to confirm that though with the liaison before I say that officially. Um, but that would be amazing for us. It's those sort of validation proof points are always the key. Um,
Right.
so we'll see.
Okay. All right. I mean, that's something to look for, right?
Yeah.
So then the other potential catalyst you have is the fact that you are in discussions with pharmaceuticals about these different mental uh, diseases, right? So I mean, there could be a partnership announced at any time there, right?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, and I think, and your audience will understand this. The first deal's always the hardest, right? Like nobody wants to be first. But once you get the first one done, you're validated in the eyes of the market, right? You get a deal done with one big pharma, the rest of them say, all right, these guys did their diligence, like, let's get in. We don't want to miss out. We don't want to miss out on the opportunity. So those second, third, and fourth deals are going to come a lot faster and for bigger dollar amounts. But anyway, so we're trying to get that first one done. Um, you know, my, our goal is to get a couple of those deals done this year. I mean, we're only in March. We've been in these discussions for some time now. Um, so those are big milestone events, catalysts. Speaking of that, when you look at, okay, what could the impact be on the stock, right? That's a question I get asked a lot. If you study our sector, so for networks, from what we can gather, it's about 35 times revenue is the value, right? That's added. If you look at like a Palantir, for example, that's approximately where they trade. For target discovery, for the neuropsych stuff, it's much, much higher than that. Okay. It can be 100 times revenue. Um, so it'll be very interesting to see, what happens here. Uh, because these deals can be pretty big, right? And even just focusing on the upfront aspect of it, that's still substantial. I mean, for a tiny company like ours, and like we just talked about, not a lot of shares outstanding. So it'll be very interesting to see, what happens here. But we're pretty optimistic based on what we've already seen out there in the market.
Right. I mean, even if just to put this in context, even if all the shares, all the warrants come in,
Yeah,
that's still nothing. I mean, that's nothing, right?
right.
You're talking 15 million, 15, 16 million. Who cares? I mean, that's nothing, right? When
Yeah,
if this thing is going, if your stuff is working, it's validated. and you get one of those big deals, and like you
Yeah.
said, that should open the floodgates to everybody else, right? So,
It,
and just so everybody understands, you have a 3-year head start essentially, right?
yes, because the discoveries that we made from that neuropsych data, we have 3 years of commercialization exclusivity. So if anybody else ever discovered anything, from that data that's similar, the same thing that we've discovered, they're gonna have to sit on it for a while, which means they're gonna probably rather just work with us, right?
Which would make sense, right?
Yeah, because in big pharma, every day that you delay revenue, it's $1, $2, $3 million a day. That's what it's worth. I mean, it's massive. So speed, is critical here.
Right. So, I mean, I think you have some pretty powerful segments to the business on its own, but there are other areas that you could expand this into, right?
Yes. I mean, if we, again, we're very focused right now, but can we apply our technology to adjacent markets like the broader healthcare space? Of course. I mean, I've talked to people about this, hospital systems and other, because there's so much opportunity to improve efficiencies and reduce costs, right? I mean, it's just, and there's a lot of money in the healthcare space. So the answer is yes, but we are a small team. We're going to stay very focused. We've been incredibly disciplined up to this point, being very smart with our cash. And we're going to get these wins. We're going to get the cash flowing, and then we'll look to maybe, slowly extend ourselves a little bit further. But when we do extend ourselves, like even in drug discovery, if we say, all right, we're going to take the next couple of steps with our discoveries, though each step adds value, right? Of course, there's risk there, but it adds, significant amounts of value. Um, and then as we continue and be more successful doing that, we'll keep going further and further out. But right now, laser focused, get the deals done for the neuropsych targets, get subscriptions for Bullfrog data networks, and to help us scale that, I mean, we'll talk to companies about being a commercial partner. There are companies that are already plugged in with all the biotechs and pharmas. Maybe we can work with them, right? And
Right.
quickly ramp up networks. So it's something that we're talking about. Otherwise, we'll build our own small commercial team. But I think, Tim, whatever we do, you're never going to see us, we're not going to have that mentality of build it and they will come. No, 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 no. We're going to make progress and then we will add pieces as we need to. In the meantime, our team's going to work their butt off and stretch themselves as far as they can. So I think that's the right way to do it.
Listen, that is the right way to do it because here's the funny thing. There are a lot of amazing companies out there in the world and that have solutions to big problems that, for whatever reason, uh, aren't being adopted. I mean, they're just not being adopted, and it's a troubling thing for me, right? Because I see things and I say, boy, there's a death that didn't need to happen, or there's an accident that didn't need to happen if we just use this company's product.
Yeah,
And the reality is that there are only 13% of the population that are early adopters,
right.
right? And people hate change. I mean, they'd rather bitch about a problem than actually take the steps to change the problem, right? And that's part of the issue. So for what you just said to me, and this is where small companies always seem to make a critical error, is they assume that they're going to get to cash flow positive faster than they actually get to cash flow positive,
That's
right?
right.
And then they wind up having to get screwed by the capital markets, right?
Yeah.
I mean that's what kills. That's what winds up killing you. You know, you do a toxic capital raise, and then it's the death spiral, and then boom, right? And
Yeah.
that's what happens to small companies. Unfortunately, it is they overestimate that their product or service is going to be adopted quickly, and that's not
It's 100% true, Tim. And look, I'm a serial entrepreneur, so I've learned the hard way.
the
Dangerous assumption. Because people ask me, hey, how come you guys haven't set up some big headquarters? And I'm like, why? Like, why? I don't need that expense.
right.
We're a data science company, right? I don't, I got data scientists, spread up and down the East Coast that are working on the team. We don't need to do, that's just one example, but you don't, focus on execution and what you're doing, not looking bigger and better and fancy. You don't need all of that. That'll come. That'll come when it's a easy thing to afford for the company. But right now, you're 100% right. Small companies underestimate how hard it is to get a customer to write a check. That first customer, it's just so hard. I mean, it's like getting the first investors. People think, oh, that guy's worth 10 million bucks. I'll meet him in 10 minutes. He'll cut a check for 50 grand. This doesn't work that way, right? It's always much, much harder than you realize. And you're talking about all the great companies out there, and yeah, we get a lot of them get overshadowed by the big companies, right?
Yes.
And it's unfortunate, but it's like a David versus Goliath situation. But companies like ours, we know we have great technology, we have competitive advantages with our tech and our data. So, I mean, we're making some noise, and we are going to do big things.
A big part of the problem is Wall Street itself. I mean, look, being an investor is becoming a thing of the past. I mean, it's all about fast money, right? It's all about the short term money, short term fees, all of that stuff. That's where we have gone. Algorithmic trading, naked short selling. I mean, there's so many challenges for small companies. No analyst coverage, right? I mean, you can't get coverage unless you do a financing. Financing deals are so shitty that you don't want to do a
Yeah.
financing. It's just it's a nightmare. But I can tell you this, even though all of that, the next Microsoft, Nvidia, or Apple is not coming from Microsoft, Nvidia, or Apple. It's coming from one of these little companies that manages to be able to navigate through all of this stuff that is tough and hit the home run. That's where the next might, and there will be companies that do that, right? I mean, it's going to happen. It's inevitable. Bullfrog AI could be that company, right? I mean, this is a massive industry. It is an industry that led the markets down because small caps got crushed. This is a very cash intensive industry, right? And if you got higher interest rates and all that, they have a tough time raising capital. And then they get these terrible financing deals with the warrants and the preferreds and the ratchets and all that other stuff,
Right.
right? So this is an exciting company because you have clean warrants. Now, I want to bring up one thing, and I just remembered this from the last
Yeah.
time that we met. You have established a 10B5, is it a 10B51
Yeah.
plan?
Yes. Yep.
Can you tell everybody what a 10B51 plan is?
Yeah, 10b5-1 plan is designed for officers of a company, and it's a plan where a small percentage of the officers' holdings are sold on a quarterly basis, and it's on autopilot. So I, as a CEO, I cannot interfere with that plan at all. I cannot touch it. I don't talk to the administrators about it. It just every quarter, but it's a very small percentage. And
And the,
people ask me like, why'd you do that? And I say, look, I'm the founder of this company. I sacrificed everything, and just like you guys, everybody listening, I got bills to pay. I got kids in college. So And if you just look at the amounts that I've done and sold, it's not like I'm buying yachts and jets with
Right.
it.
You're not selling off 80% of your holdings.
No, no, these are very small percentages. But it's important
And
to
the
me
re-
and my family. It has no bearing though on how I feel about the company, right? Just want to be clear about that. So when you
and
see
then the
that
reason it's
happen,
the reason it's done is that, especially with you, because you're in negotiations with a bunch of different players, right? So what does that mean? That means that you are in what's called a blackout period, which is means you can't go out and sell or buy. You can't do either one, right? You literally have to sit there and hold what you have, and that's it. So
right?
you set that up at the beginning of the year because you especially know you're probably going to be in a lot of potentially material event conversations, right? And if that's the case, you're not able to buy or sell. So that's why it's established, right? Make sure that everybody understands that. What I find interesting about people, other retail investors, is they're like, wait, why is he selling it? Ask him why he's. First of all, it's none of my business why he's selling some of the shares. Maybe he's got a family member that's got hospital bills. I mean, who knows? I mean, there's a lot of reasons is why you sell some shares. And as the CEO and founder, you have every right to be able to sell shares, right? I understand that everybody wishes you were just always buying shares and never sold any ever, but
Yeah.
that just isn't reality. So, okay. Um, I want to show everybody why I'm so excited about the chart itself. So, from a technical standpoint, you can see that this recently, so it went up to almost 5, and then it came back down. And a lot of that has to do with the geopolitical stuff that's happening right now, the tariffs and all that stuff, right? What's very interesting about this chart is that it had the spike, and then it comes back down, and it basically tested its all-time low, right? Why is that an important thing? Because that could be establishing the fact that this is a double bottom, meaning that the bottom is now being tested and it is proving to be the bottom, right? If that's the case, and then you look at, well, what does the company have going on fundamentally? This is a very interesting setup. The timing is very good. So I will say, I'm going to say this. I tell people I don't tell anybody what to buy or sell or when to buy or sell, but I will say this. I think that this is the risk reward ratio here for this particular company. I think is very great. So what you're risking dollar 80, and what do you potentially lose? You potentially lose $1.80 if that's if you go BK, and I don't think you're going to go BK. How are you doing on cash right now, Vin?
We got cash into Q4.
In the Q4?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that so? Is this your? Are you on a fiscal?
Yeah. A
Okay.
calendar year. Yeah, calendar
Okay.
year. We just filed our 10K last week.
Okay. So if and that's if the warrants come in, that's going to bring revenue. That'll bring in some funds, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
now you said the first one is at 2. You said 2, 8, and then what? 4?
Yeah,
2,
two,
4, and 8.
four. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, look, this is where it gets really interesting. So you've got some resistance. And I'm going to show everybody. You can see where my cursor is. There is a area right there of support and resistance. Actually, it acted as support. Now it's going to act as resistance on the way up. Right. So let me draw a horizontal line here. Right there. Okay. That's going to act as a little bit of a resistance area. It is right now, but then once you break through that, I think the next big area of resistance comes up around 275, $3, right? I think $3 is the area that you really want to break through, and then you want to build up some energy, kind of go sideways. Then maybe you have another catalyst that gets announced, and who knows? Maybe that's from the pancreatic study. Who knows what it could be? It could be a partnership, whatever. I think once you take out $3, you build up some energy, then I think it gets really interesting from there, right? Then you're going to break the downward trend, the long downward trend, and this could get very fun very quickly. It could get stupid too, actually. With a low float, it could actually get really stupid
Right.
really quickly. So if that happens for anybody, make sure you take a little off the table. So I would recommend this. I'm gonna say this. If you don't own it, number one, go to their website, sign up for IR, their investor alerts. That way you get them sent directly to your email, and you're keeping an eye on what the company is doing, right? The other thing I would say is buy one share, right? I mean, one share. The reason I say that is because if you have one share, I guarantee you, if you own a piece of it, you will pay attention to what's happening, right? And maybe when you start to see some other news that comes out or whatever, that will inspire you to maybe add to those shares, right? But I think that I mean, what's the potential upside here? If you announce two pharmas if you announce two pharmas this year, what kind of what does that look like?
Look, if we do a target discovery deal this
Yeah.
year, you're looking at, you might be 20 to 50 million dollars upfront payment, right? A billion all in. I mean, that's typically what these deals look like. So if you just took the 20 to 50 million and apply that multiple we talked about earlier, like you said, it gets stupid, right? So it's whether you want to multiply by 35 or 100 or whatever it is, like I said, it'll be interesting to see what happens, but there's a potential there for something really crazy to happen. So
Right. So I think technically, I think in this area, it's worth. This is a good area, I think, to dip your toe. How about that? And then, Vin, I don't want to go so far in between next time when I have you back, right? So, what do you think? Like maybe once a quarter?
yeah, at least once a quarter, but if I have some, good news come out, we'll come on immediately.
Okay, perfect. I love that plan. I love that plan. You feel as though I've missed anything here?
No, I think we've covered it all. So
Okay.
good.
I love this story, man. I think, like I said, they're in a sweetheart spot. Biotech does need help, right? Biotech, matter of fact, let me say this to anybody that's watching. If you're in the biotech industry or you know somebody that's in the biotech industry, I think it would behoove you to tell them about Bullfrog AI, right? Because if you can help the biotech industry not burn as much cash and have better results,
Yeah,
everybody wins.
right.
Patients, everybody wins, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Investors, literally everybody wins. There are no losers in that situation. And it doesn't hurt to have a conversation, right? So that's anybody who's knows somebody or is actually discovering and developing drugs. I think we can be helpful.
And that's how we make change happen quicker, right? So this is what this channel is all about is trying to find the companies that can make a difference in humanity and then help that shrink that adoption curve. That's really what this is about. To help people say, hey, there's actually a company out there that is tackling this problem, right? Let's help that company succeed because the problem is big. That's what it's all about for me. Is that there are amazing companies out there doing amazing things, and if they don't get to that inflection point where they're making money, they're going to run out of capital, and they're going to get screwed by the capital markets. That's what happens, and then we lose a potentially a really good company because people didn't know about them. People didn't adopt it right quick enough. So that's really what this is all about. Ben, I want to thank you for taking the time, man, and we'll have you back again real soon.
Great. Thanks, Tim. This
All
was
right,
good.
hold on one second. I'm going to shut this off. Thank you for tuning in to another CEO interview here at Alpha Wolf Capital. Today we had Vin Singh from Bullfrog AI. I hope you enjoyed today's interview, and if you did, please do us a favor. Give us a like. How about giving us a share? And while you're at it, make sure you smash that subscribe button. All of those things are extremely important to us here at Alpha Wolf Capital, and we appreciate you taking the time to do that. Until next time, stay safe. Alpha Wolf Capital wishes you the very best of success.